3 o'clock. And thankfully, we don't need a quorum since it's a work session because we have a few council members and mayor absent. But we're working on getting them online on Teams. But until then, we'll move ahead with presentation and discussion, starting with March 14th council meeting agenda items. That's it. And you guys got your new agendas. We have call to order, roll call, invocation, pledge of allegiance. Marta, hopefully Councilmember Benning will be here on Thursday because he'll be doing item 1. We have awards and presentation. David Felix is going to be presented an award of financial reporting achievement. And then, Mr. Petuchek, do you have anything you want to share now for city managers?
Yeah, we have a few projects. We're going out for the needs assessment on the municipal court, and those proposals are due on the 15th at 10 a.m. The pedestrian walkway connections project, which is grant funded, those bids were opened today, as a matter of fact, and awards pending. So I don't have the information yet on how that occurred, but hopefully by Thursday I will. Annual street maintenance, we received 2 bids, and the award is pending on that. And of course, then we'll get out to you which streets are going to be treated and post those online as well. The solar streetlights in Montebello and Whispering Springs, that award is pending, and we're awaiting the bid on the pedestrian walkway in that area, and that should be coming up very soon as well. The feasibility study for the space reentry port at Sierra Vista Municipal Airport, that contract is ready to be let, and hopefully by Thursday I'll have the numbers and everything for that, but there is a consultant selected for that. Also received today January sales tax numbers. While relatively flat, we're still 2.82% over fiscal year 23 and 5.68% over budget. So that was okay for January. Unfortunately, we're seeing still a slight decrease in retail numbers, but food is pretty much carrying the growth in the sales tax, and that was up 18%, but the rest of retail was down 1%. So that's still a little bit of a concern for us. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I should have some more information on these bids on Thursday.
Thank you. Marty and Angelica? Because I don't think anyone's on the phone. Do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
All right. Thanks, Chuck. We'll move ahead to, okay, then it'll be the consent agenda. Any questions about that? Okay, and then a public hearing because it's a community development block grant consideration for funding. Blake, you got this one.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey and members of council. This is Blake Fisher speaking from Community Development. Matt will be out this week, so I'll be taking care of this agenda item. So this is for consideration for funding request for the Community Development Block Grant. We are expecting that we will have $250,000 to allocate this round, though we will be receiving an official amount from HUD here in the coming weeks. Applicants for this year include Good Neighbor Alliance, United Way, and the Boys and Girls Club, as well as our own proposals. The applicants will have about 10 minutes up here at the dais to make their cases here on Thursday, with 5 minutes for Q&A each. There's a quick reference table in the back page of the memo that lists who is requesting what and for what purpose, as well as staff recommendations, and we'll put that up on the screen on Thursday too for your reference during their presentations. Staff will use feedback given in preparation for our next annual action plan, which a draft of which will be ready for another public hearing on April 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. And do you know if the 3 applicants did Matt or someone reach out to them about the recommended amount change?
The recommended amount
because they're
change.
asking for more than what would fit within the 250.
And Mayor Pro Tem,
Yeah.
if I could ask Blake real quick, there are requirements or restrictions placed on the amount of money we can give to nonprofits, and if you could
Right.
let them know what that amount is, because that frame sets up your question.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Emfrey, yes, 15%. The Boys and Girls Club and the United Way both requested quite a large amount, but though Matt had discussions with both of them, and they managed to agree to split their allocation, which is what is listed as the staff recommended amount.
Yeah.
So they are in understanding that there is a maximum of 15% of our total funding allocation that can be given for public services, and they're willing to split that amount amongst themselves.
Okay,
So
perfect.
that's not even $40,000 we're talking about. So-
Right, thank you. Do you have any questions, Marta and Joe? No? All right, you're all done? Let's see. All right, then we have. Okay, I think, the Charleston Road right-of-way, which is Jeff.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Umphrey and members of the council. This item is a request to proceed with an abandonment of a portion of Charleston Road right-of-way. And as you can see on the aerial here, we do own quite a bit of right-of-way along Charleston Road. This whole section along here is actually right-of-way, and this is the area that's being proposed to be abandoned to the adjacent property owner. Just to put this in context, this is the Cochise Crossroads Shopping Center, with PetSmart being located right here. Target's located over here, and then, of course, we have the Plaza Vista Mall to the north. Now, a little bit of background regarding the abandonment. There is an existing sewer line along State Route 90 that is failing and extremely difficult to maintain. To bypass the flows from this line, the city is proposing to construct a new sewer line, which will parallel Charleston Road. And you can see in pink here that proposed sewer line along Charleston right-of-way. This line will extend from SR 90, continue through the abandoned area, and conclude at the eastern property line of parcel 107-16-026H, again, which is this kind of funky-shaped parcel just to the south of the abandoned area right here, again, owned by Cochise Crossroads. The failing sewer line will be abandoned once the new sewer line is connected. Now, a sewer easement is required to maintain public sewer lines located on private property. And as you can see from the aerial, portions of the sewer line will be located on the subject property. Again, just directly to the left and directly to the right of the abandonment area is the private property of the subject property, and these areas are where we're proposing to put there's proposed to be a 22.5-foot wide sewer easement. The owner of the parcel, Cochise Crossroads, has agreed to provide the city these easements, which are proposed, which will be used for private development. Now, the acceptance of these easements is a separate consent agenda item for the council on Thursday night. Now, in exchange for providing the city the sewer easements, the city has agreed to abandon a portion of Charleston Road right-of-way. According to Arizona Revised Statutes, title to any vacated or abandoned roadway vests with the abutting property owner. Again, so Charleston, the owner of Cochise Crossroads, will obtain the title to the property. The city has no need for the property as it exceeds the 100 feet of right-of-way needed for arterial roadways. As part of the abandonment of the property, another 22.5-foot wide easement will be obtained and recorded, which will provide a continuous easement area extending the length of the sewer line. And again, you can see that on the aerial as well. Just directly north of where it indicates parcel to be abandoned, there is another reserved for a 22.5-foot wide sewer easement, which again will be part of that abandonment. Approval of this resolution by the mayor and city council directs staff to proceed with the process of abandonment. The process involves the city staff contacting all utility companies for their approval and a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the mayor and city council. So this does conclude staff's report.
Thank you. And any questions? No? So just for everybody, the sewer easement is in the consent agenda under 2.4. Which we'll also be accepting on Thursday, hopefully, we'll have a quorum. We don't need like a super majority for this or anything,
no,
right?
no.
Just in case. Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey, members of the council, just as an aside on that map, and I don't remember exactly how we acquired so much land in that area way back when, but it could prove to be a hindrance to future development of that area if we held on to it, or would create some issues at that time. So this might facilitate future development of that particular
know.
parcel.
Yep.
All right. And then we have one more item for Thursday's agenda. It's will be presented by David Felix on the possible action of resolution 2024-013, transfer of funds from the general fund to the highway user revenue capital improvements and additional FY24 PSPRS contribution.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of council now. Per city policy, at the end of before we have finalized the books for the prior fiscal year, we look at any fund balance we're looking to add to the general fund, and we make a recommendation to you to whether leave it all in a general fund or move it around to other funds or spend on additional things as needs may come up, and we have excess funds from that year. We are still closing the books. We're still working with the auditors on finalizing and getting the ACFR done. And we are currently looking at about a $5.6 million revenue over expenditure in the general fund for last fiscal year. Main reasons for that are the TPT, the transaction privilege tax that was above that you guys have heard about. State shared revenues were up over expected. And on the expenditure side, a couple big ones are we budgeted to do the animal control facility. That obviously did not go yet. And when projects carry over per city policy, approved by council, we budget that from new funds. We have $2 million from last year's animal care facility that we did not expend, and we have a couple vehicles and other things that carried over to this fiscal year as well. So that's the main reason for the additional revenue in the general fund. So the recommendation is to move $2 million from the general fund into the HERF fund. The main reason to help with streets in general, but right now we're looking at Garden Avenue. If we get the grant for Garden Avenue that we've applied for, that we would then turn around and use that for Wilcox or another pressing street that may come up because we know that surprises happen. Another $1 million to go into the capital improvements fund for general purposes. There's a couple projects that are outstanding that we also have grants for and other things hanging out there. So if we don't get funds for that, we can use it for one of those projects. And then, as you'll see in the presentation coming up, our PSPRS policy has been very good, so we're looking at taking $2 million for an extra payment for this fiscal year, $1.25 million to the police side and $750,000 to the fire side. When the financial report does come out, it will show as a $2 million reserve general fund balance, not available for any usage because you're approving the expenditure this year from last year funds, so it will restrict the general fund reserves. And the payment would be made next week if you guys approve this on Thursday night. That still leaves about $700,000 going to the general fund balance. The final number will be actually dependent on any audit changes or anything else the auditors have. So that's our recommendation to you per city council. Be happy to answer any questions you may have, or if there's other things you want to look at forward instead.
I'm sorry, did you say 700,000 will be left for unrestricted general?
Unrestricted general fund balance, which will take the fund balance to about $7.7 million.
We have a different number in our memo. It says 600,000.
600,000, okay.
Yeah.
From 7.1 to 7.7 million.
So that's our reserve.
That would be our unrestricted general fund reserve balance. If you approve this, would be about $7.7 million
That
at the end of
number's
the fiscal year.
okay. Thank you. Any questions for David?
Oh, no questions. Thanks for the breakdown of that, and I feel like taking care of our streets is really good, is really important, and taking care of our people is very important too. So I think that's a good use of that. So thank you.
Yes, it was a nice surprise.
I like these pleasant surprises, and I like being able to give good news, and so often I'm
Yes.
Mr. Doom and Gloom. So.
Yes.
This is good news.
Yes.
Okay. If no other questions, thank you. we'll go back to the work session agenda.
Okay.
I gotta find it. Okay. Actually, David, come back. Sorry, you're B, right? Mid-year financial, yeah. I knew that.
Okay, here we go.
Continuing on, the good news with caution. At the mid-year financial, we are well ahead of budget. Of course, as you know, December is our biggest sales tax month of the year. So that is the peak, and that's when you'll see the highest revenue budget variation, and it will continue to taper off through the rest of the fiscal year. And last month in December, it was over 6%. As Chuck mentioned a little bit ago, it's now 5.8%, and it will continue to taper off. The biggest reasons for the revenue over expenses are, again, animal control has not started yet. We have over $1 million worth of vehicles that are still awaiting delivery. Those are budgeted to be cashed out. We have not done any transfers, and the transfers are done at the end of the year. And we did budget one-time expenses for the extra $2 million in regards to the state shared income tax that you may remember, because that is being changed over a 3-year period. This next year, you'll have about $1 million of a one-time expense we'll be putting in for, and the income tax, state shared income tax, is expected to hit a low point 2 years from now in the 2026 budget at about $8.1 million when we're expected to receive $12 million this year.
Yeah.
So that's why we budget if we know it's a one-time expense. Like this year, we knew $2 million was kind of a tapering off. We took the $2 million to budget to one-time expenditures. So, fiscally conservative, don't take a one-time lottery winning and do a long-term expenditure with it. So those will come in at that time too. So that's kind of where we're at. And so, again, if we continue out at the end of the fiscal year and have a larger revenue over expenditure, fund balance will be coming to you probably November of next year or later this year to give recommendations on where to move that if we have anything. So obviously, animal control will not be finished by the end of the year, so there will be some left over as well. And you'll see that in the coming up budget of being budgeted from new funds as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yeah,
Again, I like giving good news.
I know. Okay, now you really are done. Yeah, thank you. And then, I'm excited. Roadrunner Park Design Concepts. The slides look so amazing.
I'm excited too. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
And I already asked, the two check on the second slide is not related to Chuck.
Oh, okay.
I was just like, hey.
At least that I'm aware of.
That's true. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I am really excited to talk about this project. The Roadrunner concept plans have been a long time in the making. Really, if you want to get technical, over 20 years in the making. So very excited to present this to you today. We were going to have Laura Melserek on the line, and she was going to be presenting. We're having some technical difficulties, so you're stuck with me this afternoon, and so I will do my very best. But I do think that within your packet, you've probably done some reading ahead, and because there's no way I would have been able to wait to see some of those designs. So just a little background on this. We had a large public comment period on this. Back in 2022, we held in-person public comment period on site there at the Roadrunner property. Actually, we were set up in the adjacent Garden Canyon Linear Park area. And we talked to a lot of people who showed up. We also used our Engage platform, which was very, very successful, and we had over 1,400 responses from the community. So that's a very large sample of our community for a public comment period, and we're very proud of that. We think that using these different formats really does lend itself to giving more of our demographic population a space to be heard. So that is all a part of this. We awarded this contract to Wheat Design Group. They have been selected as our partners to design Roadrunner Park. That award would happen at the end of August in 2023. We did our kickoff in September, and we're already here with these two beautiful concepts. I've also been working these through the Parks and Recreation Commission and have received feedback. They're giving me their formal feedback today at their 5:30 meeting, and that feedback will also go into a final conceptual plan. We're hoping that we can look these over. You can ask any questions. We want you to be comfortable. Jump in, ask anything you want at any time, and I'll do my best to answer your questions, or I'll get you the answers that you seek. We're hoping that after this we get some consensus that we're on the right track and we can move forward. And once we get a final concept, that will also come back to you. And as always, the public comment period, or the public comments, are the centerpiece for these designs. This is truly what they have asked for. I also wanted to take a moment to thank our internal team for their help with this. Sharon Flassar has been my partner in this, always my partner in crime. I guess I shouldn't say that as a government employee, but you know what I mean. Always unintentionally inappropriate somehow. And so Tony Boone has been at the table. We've had Matt McLaughlin as a part of it, and our Parks Maintenance team has also been a part of this as well. So seemed to make sense that the guys who are going to take care of it are able to see it in design. So without further ado, we'll see if this is working. So this was the introductions. This is a Wheat Design team. Laura Milsarek, she's phenomenal. She's their principal. And then we have some other great folks here. Yennefer, Elise Patuchek is the one that you were talking about, Ms. Mayor Pro Tem. No relation to Chuck that we know of. And Jenny Moscato, like really cool names.
Yeah.
Like how could you hate it? And then from SOMAS, Kevin Lettendre, he's not on the line, so it's okay. Sorry if I mess up your name, but he is a SOMAS civil engineer and subbing to Wheat on this as well. So here's just a little bit about their approach. They had a discovery phase, a vision phase, and a creation phase to come up with this. They actually came out and they did a site analysis and inventory. We took the Jeep out there and we took them around into the spaces. They walked it. They studied the flora and fauna in the space. They kept the Parks and Recreation Master Plan also as a guiding point into their design. They understand what we are trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish through this plan. And the public is, of course, once again, at the center of that. And they did, a nice word bubble here of the biggest things that were coming out of our public comment period. And I think they did a great job and delivered on all of these. So here's just a little bit about our demographics. 34 is the median age of Garden Canyon Linear Park users. Everybody's got a Love Placer and AI-like Placer that gives us these cool data points. 22% of Sierra Vista is under 18 years of age. There's 9.9 thousand visitors from September 1st of 2022 through August 31st of 2023 to that park. And the average stay right now is 43 minutes at our Garden Canyon Linear Park area. Here's a little bit of our wonderful Engage and public comments. All the public comments that happened in person were actually rolled into our Engage platform so that everybody's voices were heard. I think over 1,100 were virtual, and the remainder was in person. But it's important to note that everybody was counted and heard. So the biggest use, of course, is walking. And then everybody wanted a playground. Everybody wanted a place to have picnics and exercise, just basically a lot of outdoor activities. So these were the top things that were gleaned from those surveys. They have environmental context that I'm not going to go too much into because I'm not that smart. But this is just basically talking about our area. They recognize that we are the hummingbird capital of the universe. And so that is also a point in here as well. They did a good job of giving little shout outs to that as well. Here's their environmental context, just where it's located and all the beauty that surrounds it. It truly is a special property when you're out there. And I was going to jump ahead and say something about the concept, but I pulled that back and then I said it out loud. So we'll just, we'll get back to that when I reach the concept. There's a lot of their site analysis they do, just like recognizing lines in the area, vegetation, things like that. They conducted a viewshed study, so they wanted to see the best places to sit and look at the sunsets and stuff like that, which is really, really important to me. I think Mayor Pro Tem Humphrey saw me actually doing that one time.
I was thinking of you when I saw that. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
what Laura does.
Yeah, that's right. Those are important things. They looked for all of the opportunities and constraints, and what I thought they did really well in the designs is they use some of the constraints as opportunities and use them in really unique ways that would be great for people who use the park. Here's a little bit about our process. My drawings wouldn't look like that at all. And we're getting into the concepts now. So whenever we met as a team with Wheat Design, the first time that we sat down, it was just kind of a dreaming session, which I love to do, and really just talking about what we wanted to see, how we see our park users, what they do, and what we'd like to see and what we think they would like to see in a new park concept. This is a regional park. This is a large piece of land. And so we thought that this was enough property to do a lot of things simultaneously, but they feel like separate things. And so I used kind of the Disney concept when I was speaking to Wheat, and I said, you know, how could you make it feel like, you know, you have like a center point like Main Street in Disney, but then you have these different kind of worlds that are easy to get through from this main gathering point. And they incorporated that into both of these designs. So if you're having a 5-year-old birthday party at a Ramada and a wedding, you know, at another space, you kind of want to look and feel for that. You don't want, you know, Uncle Bob's barbecue to like be smelling, you know, when you're having like, I don't know, salmon and fancy wine at a wedding reception. So we think they did that very well. So they explored the challenges. They wanted passive and active recreation, and they wanted a place that celebrates the rich native vegetation in the space. And here is concept one. So you can kind of see where they have this little center area, and then everything kind of breaks out from that. You'll see that in both concepts. And then they have different event spaces. We talked about the importance of a large green space, but also protecting as much vegetation as possible and using native plants and walking paths throughout. We talked about shade and wanting to see that. There's lots of talk about water features. We don't know if they're going to make those or not in the final plans, but we hope so, that we can have something somehow. In this particular plan, they go into more details in the other slides, but just kind of making up how they kind of structured it. Back here, we have a bicycle skills course. You can see walking paths throughout the design. You can kind of quickly go to the center and then quickly get to another space in the park. You have walking, the walking paths start here. This is the 1 acre green space. It looks tiny here because there's so much land. There's a skills course in here, exercise, splash pads, playground, restrooms throughout. It's a very beautiful and kind of dream park design. This one's a little more modern than the other one. The other one gets a little more rustic and natural. So this just kind of goes over it hitting those marks. In the central area, they call it a central plaza space, and that's here in the middle, this little wagon wheel design. They have a playground area here, lots of green space in the center, and then this would be like their splash pad location. They also talked about a water feature that kind of mimics the lawn in Washington, D.C. It's a very tiny version of that. But they were trying to bring in elements of how to bring water into the desert kind of a space in a recyclable fashion. On this one, they also designed like a drop-off point. I speak to my friend and colleague Irene Zuniga about that, and she's always trying to put drop-off points into things, and I love it. the southwest corner was a very important place to me when looking at an event space. When you stand on that southwest corner, that is an absolutely drop dead gorgeous backdrop of the Wachunga Mountains behind you. And so we talked about how important that would be. We could see people here, playing Frisbee, doing all sorts of activities, or even putting up a large event tent for a private party, with a large circular Ramada location here, which could be used as a photo backdrop for family photos, weddings, parties of any kind. And then adjacent to that, but kind of far away, would be a challenge course. Sorry, this is loading kind of slow.
It's okay.
So on the northwest, the northeast corner, the back of it, they had the fitness space back here, which had a lot of natural elements to it as well, along with a really, really cool bicycle skills course. We know that how important bicycling is in this community. Again, walking trails throughout, restroom location, which we all want our restrooms in a park. So very happy to see that there. These are some examples of what the Central Plaza could be designed like. We're not to the point where we're picking out the individual things that we're putting there, but they did want to provide some inspiration for what things could look like. Large shaded area. We love the wind sails, particularly when there's damage that you can just replace one piece, that it doesn't take the whole thing all the time. And then some other natural elements and some really creative designs in that in concept too also. These are some examples of the water feature when entering the park, just something that's like interactive and as low maintenance as possible, but still using recirculating water. Something that people could walk through, actually touch and feel, just kind of provides a cool element there. This playground is a more modernized version than what you'll see in the next concept, but still really cool. I love the sweeping design space. It's kind of, that would look really cool on an aerial on Google Maps, I think, of the space. Kind of the Nike swoosh of Sierra Vista. But there's a lot of really cool elements, lots of like opportunity play for children, which we really love in Parks and Recreation, where you can mitigate your taking chances. A lot of times kids, don't get a lot of safe spaces to take chances, but we want to build confidence in our play. And so this play space would definitely do that. This splash pad is more of what you would expect to find in your larger cities, your more traditional splash pads. Making sure that inclusive play was in everything, every element of these designs was very important to us, making sure that we had ADA accessibility and that children of all abilities would have spaces to play together. So all of these designs incorporate that. These are some really cool event space ideas. We were looking at originally some like octagon design, something kind of round for event spaces, but they wanted to give us just an overview of some other things that are out there too, something a little different. No pavilion style elements are going in there. We are in the middle of a neighborhood in this park space, and so we did keep that in mind. I could see some music being played there, some kind of lower format bands, acoustic, things like that, but I don't think we're going to have any blowout concerts in Roadrunner Park, but I mean, who knows? We didn't design anything in there like that. This is an example of challenge course. I love this because it has kind of a military throwback to it, and we have a large veteran community. The rock wall, again, all these elements are, you can start slow and increase, your stamina for it, and work out with your friends and neighbors and your families. This is one of my favorite elements in this park, the bike skills course. I didn't even know they had types of designs like this, but they really do have a lot of options. I've looked into it since I saw this design. You can put all kinds of things, even movable pieces, and make your bike skills course different throughout time. So here's more of a traditional one. We have something similar to this down at the end of Tacoma Street, but these are some other elements to consider. I love the large shade trees around it. We talked a lot about getting lots of trees in this park so that we have lots of natural shade as well. Here is the group fitness. One thing that we talked about on both concepts with Wheat Designs is the need to have also workout areas near playgrounds, because sometimes parents want to work out and they want their kids to go play, but they want to see them. So having those things and incorporating seating within a playground area is also very important, because a lot of times you see moms and dads and there's really nowhere to sit for them in the shade. So we want to make that a comfortable time, and if we can get the whole family fit, then that's good too.
I'm glad someone thought of that for you. Because that has been an issue. You're like, well, I guess I'm just going to stand here and watch you play. Can't sit comfortably anywhere. Yeah.
Yes, well, I mean, a lot of us have raised kids in this community too, and taken kids out, and we understand, and we do pay attention, and our community has no problem telling us what they want either. So that's very good. But we did listen, and we have an opportunity to provide that this time.
That's great.
Any questions so far on concept one? No? Okay. So concept two, this is where they're saying where people and nature connect and thrive. This one is very, very natural. So they really focused on the natural elements. They wanted to balance, again, the passive and active recreation. And they were looking for sustainable and low impact designs, focusing on the habitat in the area, the flora and fauna, the animals, things like that. Come on down. So again, you see like an entrance point, a center point that kind of goes out. This one does not look like there's as much in it, because they left a lot of it very natural. What I liked about this concept, especially like maybe combining some elements of the two, when you do that as well, it helps to reduce your costs if we can conserve a lot of the natural space also. This one focuses on a lot of nature trails, the water play, nature playgrounds. Things are very rustic in here and really cool. They have a habitat restoration area, which is really neat, that they kind of made into an educational opportunity in the park space, so that you can learn about the wonderful things that we're already doing here in Cochise County and in our neighboring communities as far as restoration work. They have a habitat boardwalk that is really cool, that is ADA designed. Hummingbird gardens, and there's more than one. They're kind of sprinkled around everywhere in here. I know there's, I believe, 3. We can put hummingbird gardens anywhere. The riparian zone is very cool. A small amphitheater. One of the things that we discussed was that we thought this park would be a great opportunity to have schools to come into for like educational days. And so that was also taken into consideration in their design here as well. And then there's also bird watching points. So again, this is just what I said, just what I went over, the elements of the park. And then this would be like your main entrance area, like kind of your central space. They put a hummingbird garden here. There's a nature play area in this space. Here's the main entrance. They did the entrance, you'll see in a couple slides from now, that's kind of a throwback to a hummingbird nest. Like they got some really interesting things in here to consider. And then interactive sculpture. That would be
I was
here.
wondering what that was. It's supposed to mimic a hummingbird nest.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That makes
They
sense.
really took that into a lot of consideration on this one.
When we say hummingbird garden, is that just because I don't think there's pictures specifically in the slideshow for that? Is that just like flowers that would attract them, and then we just maintain, okay.
Yes, it would be specific plantings and sitting spaces that would be made for attracting hummingbirds, which would also probably naturally attract a lot of butterflies as well. But like smaller pocket areas within the space.
Okay, that's cool.
So here they designed a very natural 75-seat amphitheater that could be used for bringing somebody in and teaching about Cochise County. You could have a small acoustic musicians, somebody bringing in animals and teaching like classroom students, a place to gather and learn, relax, or enjoy some music. The Habitat Boardwalk is really cool. They designed this in a way that you could get really close to nature, maybe see some animals that are naturally found out there, but you could also access it regardless of your abilities. It would be wide enough for wheelchairs and things like that. The water play area is also in here. They had some really cool ideas on their water play. And then they had a habitat restoration space, which could be like used as a learning tool. And I'll go into that when we get to those slides. So I love their water play area. And in particular, I really enjoyed this design here. They kind of built up on rocks, and it's not your traditional splash pad, but you could still get everybody through it. You could walk through it. You could ride a bicycle through it. Little kids could, lay down and roll around in the water, I guess, if they wanted to get really wet. But also, if you don't want your kids to get really wet, or it's colder outside, or maybe you're pushing a baby in a stroller and they just want to put their hand out, it's a way to experience it. It was a very mindful approach to having those sensory experiences for kids and adults alike, and a way to get a kind of splash pad experience without a traditional splash pad, very low water use, recirculation, and things like that. And here's your interactive sculptures. So you can certainly tell that a hummingbird nest was the inspiration for this one. They were talking about like a sculpture art, like something to either walk through or interact with, or like a big impactful design. And they really wanted to shout out like the birds and the hummingbirds of our area. And then they threw in a couple of these really interesting interactive LED ones. I don't know what those do, but it's just for inspiration. Here's some examples of nature playgrounds. I love nature playgrounds. They kind of float into the background. It's not as bright and contrasting to the area. So they provided some examples of things that would kind of blend into the space. This was actually a felled tree that was treated somehow and left. I thought that was really cool. A really cool use of something like that. Here's some examples of those nature boardwalks. Some of these actually reminded me of like if you would go on an African safari and they get you up in those like catwalk things to where you can see everything going on, but you don't have to be a part of it. This one kind of would put us like right there in the middle of it, but you could actually experience nature, and it would make some of accessing those trails available to some people who would normally not be able to access them, which I really love that. I don't necessarily think that we could do this throughout the entire space, but having an experience in a smaller area, I think might be something to consider. And then they have the riparian zone here. There's a high side to the park, and they were talking about maybe water harvesting there and having the water pool into maybe a circular stone area that would create a bird bath experience, and then have educational placards around there talking about what they're seeing and what they're doing and what it's replicating. We could actually use this to educate people on all the work that's already being done in the area where that's concerned, and would just create a beautiful space using natural elements. The amphitheater is really cool. I love the one using stone up into the high ground and kind of looking down into the space. I kind of touched on that before, just a really good educational opportunity there and different ways to use the park. And I made it all the way through those 42
Good job.
slides.
You did.
So I kind of want to open this up. I want you to tell me what you think we're
Yeah.
getting right, what you love, what you don't like. You think
Oh.
we're on the right track?
Yeah. Well, I love so much of it, but do,
Yeah.
do you guys already?
Yeah,
you
I
wanna
can
start with
share
the- yeah.
some thoughts that I had. I really liked the slides. I loved the site analysis, that breakdown and how they had that layered, so you can kind of see the different parts and sections of it. And then the opportunities and constraints. I thought that was really interesting, very, very helpful when going through this. So I really appreciated that level of the detail that we were provided with going through this. If I was going to pick a park just for myself, I probably would pick the second one. But based on the feedback from the public and things that they want, I feel like the first concept has a lot more things that would hit all the needs and wants that they have. I feel like, I guess unless like my thoughts and comments are going back and forth, I feel like for the public and for meeting their needs, I feel like 75% of concept one and 25% of the second concept I think would be ideal. I also really liked the breakdown that they have for the metrics in both of the concepts, where it talks about like the number of parking spaces and the number of acres developed and things like that. I thought that was, it's really cool to see that and to be able to kind of compare that. Let's see, get my comments together here.
And that's another option too, is maybe
Right.
merging the two, yeah.
Yeah,
Like we did
that's-
with Five Boulevard. A
Yes.
little bit A, a little bit of B.
A good compromise.
I feel like, keeping sustainability in mind is super important, especially having a low impact on the environment and the wildlife and everything there, and not messing too much up with the habitat around there. I mean, you can only do so much as far as that's concerned. But I feel like, keeping that in mind is super important. And I loved the comment about the water harvesting. I think that is, I really, really love that, and I appreciate if we could do that. I think that would be amazing, to be able to do that, to provide, because people, like based on some comments that we've had in the past, at work sessions and with the public, whenever, people really love water features. They want splash pads. They want water stuff. So if we can harvest water to be able to provide that without, getting too wild with it, I think that was great. I loved the hummingbird gardens, especially since we're the hummingbird capital. I really, really loved that. I think any time that you see a hummingbird, it kind of makes your heart happy. So I really love that. I feel like if we can incorporate that, that would be a really great way for us to embrace that we're the hummingbird capital. And then the interactive statue. I remember that Todd Ryan came and he shared a comment about having he had this idea of having this big, huge hummingbird statue at one of the parks. That would be a really great way for people to come in and see it and take pictures with it and to embrace that we're the hummingbird capital. So I think if we could do something like that, that would be super cool. And then a couple of comments that I had were for if there's a way to have any food truck setups there. I think that would be really, really cool, and people could stay longer, enjoy their time with their family, and have support local if there's food trucks and stuff. So those are the comments that I had right now.
Thank you.
I'm glad you thought food trucks. I forgot about that. We made sure to include it in Soldier Creek. They were like, "Oh, can we get food truck stuff?"
Yeah, we always need food truck pedestals for sure.
Yeah.
Marty, you have comments?
No, it's just too much for me right now.
And okay, well, I also loved all the hummingbird. Even though are we married to Roadrunner? Should we rename? If we go with all these hummingbird things, should we not call it Roadrunner Park? Or-
That is, honestly, I really am not sure where Roadrunner Park came from.
Okay.
But we are looking through the Parks and Recreation Commission right now, which in 2 to 4 weeks' time, I will be bringing something back for consideration for how we name our public, not just our parks, but our our public buildings, like what is that process? So we did find the resolution for that, and the Parks and Recreation Commission is taking a look at that now, and they've provided input on that. So you will be seeing that coming before you very soon. But I mean, do you happen to know, Victoria or Chuck, how that came to be? It could have just been something.
Always been called that.
Bob Blanchard comes to mind.
Okay. So I think what we're hearing is that there's an opportunity here to like have some fun and do some kind of naming of this very special park officially. And I will give you a process for that. They are working on that now, and that'll be coming before you very shortly, and then we'll do it.
That's good. Yeah, I'm so impressed with all the work that went into this. They made it so beautiful and easy to understand, and you really can envision the potential that it has now. And they did a good job taking what the public gave us and trying to incorporate it in different ways. The only thing, and I know that this isn't possible right now, is I would like cost estimates to kind of like.
Yes,
So I don't
spoke
get
to
too
her.
excited.
Yeah.
On any.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
it's going to cost some money. That is for sure, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I did speak to Laura this afternoon, and just leading up to this, they are going to get some higher estimates, and they are working on that. They just wanted to know that they were going in the right direction before spending a lot of time on that. But they are standing by and ready to get started. She said ASAP, as soon as we know that we're heading in the right direction and everybody's happy, to give us some preliminary numbers. Once we start working through this as well, and coming up with like a combined design, taking these elements, that will be coming before you as well, and we will be able to put some numbers against that. And then after that's done, then we can go into the actual design phase.
Great. And Victoria, you had something?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. That's probably a good time to say, since 4 of you are missing today and we weren't able to get our technology working, we will bring this back to the next work session. And maybe not the entire presentation again, unless those who aren't here want the entire presentation. But we'll bring it back for review and comment. I'll also give folks a time to review it and come back with some feedback.
Great. Thank you.
Well, and they can watch it online. Just bring their comments with them. Not that you didn't do a great job, and I would sit through it again.
Thank you.
It is a lovely presentation.
Yes.
Did you guys have any other questions? No?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, please? We'll keep up if you have a chance for any more input.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, that's probably going to be up to you all. Obviously, we had a very extensive public input process so far. I think, once you have discussion, I imagine the final product will probably be some blend of the two, but I don't know why we can't post it and get comments, online and that kind of thing. That seems to have been pretty effective, so. Yeah.
Good idea.
I think that would be cool, because if there are certain things in the design that once the public sees it and everybody hates it, then it'd probably be a good idea to not have that in there, and maybe make some
like
changes.
yeah.
If there's
Well,
some,
we have a platform,
Yeah.
obviously. We can-
Component. Okay.
That
Yeah,
would-
that's
that
true.
would be cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are we? Okay, D, report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. I feel like all of that is actively happening right now.
Right, exactly.
But do we have, well, no, his commission's tonight, Parks and Rec, right? So that's tonight. Do you guys have anything coming up?
The Transportation Commission meeting, that it's usually the first Wednesday of the month. It had to be rescheduled due to some different commitments of some of the commissioners. So it will be later on this month on Wednesday, the 20th. It'll be up here in the called the conference room. So if anybody at 3:30, so if anybody would like to come, you're welcome to come and share any thoughts. It's also recorded and available online. So if you can't make it, but you still want to find out what was discussed, you can always check there too.
Okay, thank you. And then, Marty, you got one?
Yep, and then tomorrow at 4:30 at the Oscar Roon Community Center is the Arts, Humanity, and Culture Diversity Commission. And then Monday, I had the Tourism Commission, and they're going to be bringing a few things forward in probably the next month or so.
Okay, great. And then we have E, future discussion items, council requests. Whatever Victoria's tracking.
Yeah.
We'll do it next time.
What did we forget?
Sorry, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Again, you'll have a review of the presentation you just had at your next meeting, so those who couldn't be here will get a chance to comment, and any further comments. In April, you'll have your 6-month strategic plan update and your first budget presentations. So lots of exciting information coming up.
Okay, anything else? What?
I can't think of
You
what
make
I-
a face like.
Well, because I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I can't remember for you.
Right, exactly.
Okay, then we'll move to adjourn.
All right, thank you.
Thank both of you. And all of you guys, thank you. Good job, Ron.